Hey people, John here from Fast Films, and today we are going through a 2016 romance drama movie called A Man and a Woman. The premiering scene shows a woman named Sang Min staring at the scenery of her city. She waits for the morning bus to arrive and hops into it. She stops at a school to pick up her son. Then, they both walk home, but Jae-hwa, her son, gets unruly and hits his own mother. Sang Min apologizes for her innocent behavior as they make their way home. The next morning, she escorts her son to a school bus stop and tells him about camping. At that moment, a man named Ki-hong and his daughter arrive at the parked bus. He gets his daughter onto the bus and walks away. Sang Min gets overprotective of her son and wants to follow him on the camping trip, but she's stopped by one of the teachers. The bus leaves and Sang Min meets up with Ki-hong and hitches a ride with him. While on the trip, Sang Min gets confused as to whether they're on the right track. The man says yes and continues driving. They stop at a beautiful snow-ridden landscape and the man shows Sang Min a motel where they could camp for the night. Sang Min gets hesitant to follow the man across the frozen lake to the other side. She goes later on after much persuasion. Sang Min treats the man to dinner as repayment for driving her from the cold. They have an awkward discussion after dinner and get the sad news. Unfortunately for them, though, the roads were blocked and they have to stay back until the snow stops falling. Eventually, Sang Min and Ki-hong seek refuge in the motel's lobby. They discuss their kids and Sang Min explains to Ki-hong the condition of her child. They bond a little bit after telling each other their life experiences. Later on, they leave the lobby and walk to their respective rooms. The next morning, Ki-hong wakes up early to take a walk in the snowy woods. Sang Min reluctantly follows him as they begin their trek and chat along the way. After a long-distance trek, they finally arrive at a sauna in the middle of the woods. Ki-hong opens the door and preps the sauna for use. While he's at his business, Sang Min falls asleep. Ki-hong notices and puts a blanket on her. He caresses her hair and she wakes up, catching him. The two of them have a moment and engage themselves in some romance shortly after. Later at night, they return to their motel. Before Ki-hong lets Sang Min go, he asks after her name. They hold hands instead and Sang Min walks away. Later at midnight, Sang Min calls Ki-hong and they have a very short conversation. The next morning, the kids arrive from camp and Sang Min gets Jae-hwa. However, she spots a woman coming out of Ki-hong's car. She just leaves her son and continues to their home in the cul-de-sac. Back at their home in Korea, Sang Min tells her friend who was driving how different it was to be abroad. Later on, there's a time jump to 8 months later. Here, Sang Min is being shown an event setting. They discuss some of the specifics. Later on, Sang Min talks about Jae-hwa's schooling to her husband. They come to a disagreement about the heavy finances of Jae-hwa and move on. Sang Min is seen that night staring into nothingness. The next day, she walks outside the house and something out of the ordinary happens. She sees Ki-hong for the first time after 8 months. She rushes to greet him and asks him what he was doing there. Ki-hong says he had business over there and that was why he was there. They meet in Sang Min's office and they discuss. Sang and Ki talk for a while when her assistant comes by and tells her the display team is ready. Sang Mi finishes her talk with Ki-hong and they depart. Sang Min thanks him for the visit and he thanks her back over a text. Later that night, Ki-hong works when his wife, Moo-ju, arrives back home. Ki-hong seems uninterested in their conversation when the woman breaks a wine glass. Ki-hong steps in to help and the woman goes to take a shower. The next morning, Sang Min watches a show when she receives a text from Ki-hong asking for a meeting. Before she replies, she hears the maid trying to stop Jae-hwa from drinking toilet water. Sang Min ignores the text to attend to her son. She eventually stops her son from drinking the dirty water and gets back to work on a video call. After work, she steps outside and sees Ki-hong on the way. They go somewhere to get some lunch at a half-finished construction site. They get down to business and Ki-hong serves Sang Min her favorite dish. After eating, Sang Min admires parts of the building. Things get steamy between the two of them and Ki-hong shows the rest of the unfinished building. They stop at a place and caress each other's hands. Unfortunately for them, they're interrupted by other workers returning from lunch. Sang Min gets back to work and finishes up later in the evening. One of her workers greets her goodbye and leaves the office. Sang Min stays behind to work late. After dinner time, she receives a very familiar visitor. That's right, Ki-hong pays her a visit again. He makes some jokes about her workplace and Sang Min lets him in and they get down to business. Ki-hong and Sang Min are together for the greater part of the night as they bask in each other's embrace. Unfortunately for them though, Jae-hwa wakes up and disturbs. Sang Min comforts her son. The next morning, Moon-ju catches Ki-hong and Sang Min in the kitchen talking. She gets jealous and walks away. The entire group of workers all has dinner with their significant others when Moon-ju gets unruly and embarrasses Ki-hong in front of his friends and colleagues. Everyone has an awkward moment at that time and some of them leave the party. Shortly after, Moon-ju acts awry and stands on a ledge. Ki-hong tries to help her but he's interrupted by his daughter. Moon-ju jumps down and runs to her daughter. The next day, Ki-hong teaches his daughter swimming as Sang-min watches from above. That night, Ki-hong sent Sang-min a text. However, she deletes it and continues her smoke outside. Ki-hong walks back into his house and sees his wife collapsed on the floor, clearly overdosed on some substance with their daughters staring at her body. The next day, Moon-ju's mother calms Ki-hong down, telling him it wasn't the first time her daughter was doing something like that. Ki-hong sits there and stares. Later at night, Ki-hong and Sang-min both stare at the sky in their respective homes wondering about each other. The hours pass and morning come by. Sang-min arrives late at work and gets scolded a little bit. Sang-min notices Ki-hong's car parked by the street. She walks to check him out. They talk and Ki-hong gives her a ride to the train station so she gets to her other work location on time. Ki-hong drives his crush to the bus station and greets her goodbye. The next scene shows Sang-min staring at Ki-hong's number as if deciding whether or not to call him. She eventually does so but he doesn't pick up. A little while later, she finds Ki-hong sitting down right next to her. This makes her blush as she puts her head down and shares her snack with Ki-hong. Ki-hong steals her lips for a moment and they discuss the nature of Ki-hong's work. Ki-hong says he'd like to stay with Sang-min if he could. Shortly afterward, they enjoy a moment of each other's company with only remaining on the bus. Surprisingly enough, Ki-hong follows Sang-min to Busan. After getting out of the bus station, he gets back and boards a bus back to his workplace. There, his colleague spills the good news. Ki-hong's building passed the final test. They celebrate for a while over some drinks and his colleague tells him there was something different with Ki-hong since he came back to Korea. Later that night, Sang-min receives a call and gets excused from her business meeting. Turns out the call was from Ki-hong. The duo talk for a while and Ki-hong gets off the phone. Sang-min stops to think about something and runs down the lobby of a hotel upstairs. She stops at a room door and sees Ki-hong there. The two of them share the most memorable moment ever and get down to business for the night. The next morning, Sang-min chats with her friend when she suddenly receives a snide comment over her being happily married. The next morning, Sang-min super sees a dress up by her team when she sees her friend and her boyfriend giggling happily. She gets a bit uneasy and goes to pay Ki-hong a visit. She finds out Ki-hong's wife had been very ill on her visit to his office. Later on, she receives a call from Ki-hong. They chat a bit and Ki-hong says she looks worried and hurt. He invites her outside and she reluctantly accepts his invite. Sang-min forces Ki-hong which freaks Ki out. He pushes her back and asks her why she acted that way. Sang-min says she just wants to come closer to him and nothing more. This further confuses Ki-hong. After the silence, Sang-min asks Ki-hong for some cigarettes. He steps out to get some when he receives a text from Sang-min, telling him to forget about her. Seeing this, Ki-hong runs back to his car but doesn't find Sang-min there. He dials her number but receives no answer. Later on, Sang-min drops her son and receives a call from Ki-hong, asking her to meet him so they end things before complications arise. Sang-min visits Ki-hong to talk things out when she gets a call from Ha-young, her friend, helping her out with her son's case. Sang-min finds out her son was missing so she goes searching for him. Ki-hong drives Sang-min to look for her son. After some time driving, they find Sang-min on a river under a bridge. Sang-min rushes to help her son and finds out he lost his shoe in the drifting river. She gets him her shoe and they all get back to the car. While on the way, her son keeps talking about the sea. Ki-hong seizes the opportunity to be there for his crush and takes the both of them to the sea to play. After playing with her son, Ki-hong and Sang-min gets calls from their workplace. However, they ignore it and plan to elope. Later that night, Ki-hong and Sang-min get back with their respective families. Ki-hong gets heart-to-heart with his wife as she discusses whether or not she truly understood him. Later that night, Ki-hong gets some alone time with his daughter. The two of them bug each other. The next morning shows Sang-min preparing for an event her company was hosting. She calls Ki-hong and they plan a meeting after the show that night. By the end of the day, Sang-min's husband surprises her at work and takes her home. Unknown to him, Ki-hong was already at her workplace. Ki-hong smiles as Sang-min's husband drives them home. She puts her son to sleep and steps out of the house. Her husband sees her and asks her who she's going out to see. She spills the beans and tells her husband she had a secret lover outside. The man gets a mini heartbreak and invites his wife to come to sit down with him. Sang-min ignores him and rushes to the hotel room she planned to meet Ki-hong in. She gets there and sits down, waiting for Ki Hong. Ki Hong arrives at the door of the hotel and cries before leaving. The next day, Sang Min talks on the phone with her sister. The next scene unfolds and Ki Hong is seen at his workplace with a foreign man. They chat and discuss some work stuff and get down to have some lunch. Sang Min drives through the streets and stops by at a restaurant. She stops by and sees Ki Hong enjoying some lunch with his daughter. She gets to the toilet and walks out. Ki Hong catches her as she's about to enter the taxi and runs after her. He, however, misses the taxi. Later on in the taxi, Sang Min receives a call from her husband. The taxi driver stops and she answers the call, hearing her son's voice. After the call, Sang Min breaks down in tears and the taxi driver waits for her to finish her business. Ki Hong passes by the taxi with his wife and daughter as he suddenly remembers who was in the taxi. After her crying session, Sang Min gets out of the parked taxi and gets a smoke from the taxi driver. The movie ends as Sang Min smokes cigarettes with her new pal, the taxi driver. Thanks for watching.